Hey Zoe, there's been a lot of terrible events happening this year, from COVID deaths to fires in the West Coast, recent floods in China, tornadoes, earthquakes, and hurricanes. I don't even want to turn on the news anymore.
Yeah, 2020 has been such a crazy year. Even our own IUSM student had to go through many rounds of just trying to get a ticket in order to return to their home country.
That really sucks. Why does this even happen? Seems like the whole world is going out of control, and so many innocent lives were lost. You know, one question I've been thinking about is, if God exists and He loves us, why does He allow suffering?
Yeah, that's a really good question, especially given all that had happened this year. Let's try to unpack this together. So, underneath this idea that suffering and an all-powerful, all-loving God cannot coexist. And there's two premises that we really need to address. One, if God is all-powerful, He can create any world He wants. And two, if God is all-loving, then He would want to create a world without suffering.
Interesting. But if God is all powerful, He could create any world He wants, right? I still feel like He should be able to create a world without suffering.
Yeah, it sounds right at first, but it's actually not that simple. Let's watch this clip from Sean McDowell, a Christian author, speaker, and apologetic professor at Berkeley University. He actually offers a really good explanation on this topic.
If God is all good, He can stop evil. Now, of course, God can stop evil, and He will stop evil someday. Someday, all of us are going to stand before God and face judgment. All of us will. But the key to wrestling with this premise is what we mean by God being all-powerful. Now, typically when I speak to audiences, I'll say, how many think God is all-powerful? If it's a Christian group, all the hands will go up. I'll say, how many think God could do anything? And hands will go up. And I'll say, okay, can God make a rock so big that He can't move it? Or as Bart Simpson would say, could God make a burrito so big He can't eat it? If you say, yes, He can do it, then He's limited. If you say, no, He can't do it, then He's limited. Either way, God's not all powerful, so the challenge goes. Well, how do we get out of this? Do we actually mean that God can do anything? Well, oftentimes when I'm speaking, what I'll do is I'll ask for a volunteer from the audience, maybe a young person will run up, and I'll say, okay, I'll give you a free scholarship to Biola University if you can bend this paperclip into a square circle. Now, usually at this point, people stop and don't even try. Occasionally, a freshman will try, but normally people don't try. So I'll have them sit down. Then I'll say, okay, I need the strongest person in the room. At this point, we'll often say a football player or a wrestler, a weightlifter will run up. I'll say, okay, you're stronger. Can you bend this into a square circle? And the answer is no, right? It doesn't matter how much power you add. This cannot be bent into a square circle. It's not possible. Because if something has more or less points than 4, it's not a square. If it has no points, or some would say infinite points in a circle, it's not a square. You can't have a square circle. You ready? Even God can't make a square circle. That's not a limitation on God. That's when we say God is all powerful, we mean God can do anything that power can do. And a square circle can't exist, so God couldn't make it. By the way, the Bible says there's quite a few things that God actually can't do. It says in the book of Hebrews that God can't lie. It says in the book of James that God can't be tempted. So how does this apply to our first premise? Well, look, God can make a world in which there's no evil. But just like God can't make a square circle, God also can't make a world in which there's free beings who always choose what is right. Because if He makes them always choose what is right, they're not free. And if they're free, He's not making them choose what is right. Alvin Plantinga is one of the most influential philosophers in the world today. He said a world containing creatures who are significantly free is more valuable, all else being equal, than a world containing no free creatures at all. Now, God can create free creatures, but He can't cause or determine them to only do what is right. For if He does so, then they aren't significantly free, after all. To create creatures capable of moral good Therefore, he must create creatures capable of moral evil. And he can't give those creatures the freedom to perform evil and at the same time prevent them from doing so. He's absolutely right. God can't make a square circle. He also can't make beings truly free and force them to always do what is right. So if God is going to create a world which we can choose to be in relationship with him and other people, he has to give us the capacity to choose not to enter into that relationship.
As Sean mentioned, if God is going to give people free will, he has to allow for the possibility of them misusing that freedom, even if this means hurting others, and even if it leads to suffering and pain.
I see. That actually makes sense. God can't just give us the free will to always choose to do the right thing because it's logically impossible.
Yeah, actually, when God created human beings, his main desire was to relate with them in a loving relationship. And for love to happen, God has to allow us to freely choose it.
Okay, well, how about the second premise? If God is all loving, then he will want to create a world without suffering. No one wants to see their loved ones experience suffering, right?
Yeah, that's right. No one likes to see their loved ones suffer. We want the best for them. I actually had a hard time trying to understand this, of why a loving God would allow loved ones in my life to suffer. It was something that happened in my junior year of college. When I was a junior, a friend of mine that I've known since freshman year died from an overdose. I'm not too sure if it was an accident or if it was on purpose, but it really shook me. This was the first time in my life that I've known someone who passed away. For weeks, I grappled with the question, why didn't God save him at the last minute? Why didn't God place someone there before he overdosed? And why didn't I reach out to him and see how he's doing? Some of my friends have been inviting him to Bible study a couple of times. It seemed like he was seeking God before school got too busy. However, to hear the news that he passed away so suddenly and so young, I wonder how God allowed for this to happen. Isn't he a good and patient God of the universe? Why didn't God allow more time for my friend? Death is painful, and after a period of grieving, as I was thinking about why people had to die, this sense of eternity I desire seemed to match up to what it says in Ecclesiastes 3:11. God has put eternity into man's heart. God had meant for us to have eternity, but sin and death entered into the picture to separate us. It wasn't God who took away my friend, but the brokenness of this world and the choices that he made. I was saddened by the fact that my friend took these drugs in order to numb away the pain of the world, but I was also comforted by the fact that God grieved with me as well, never wanting this to happen in the first place. It says in John 10:10-11, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But Jesus came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Jesus is the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. God sees this problem of death caused by our own brokenness. He doesn't leave us alone to deal with it, but the God of the universe came down to become flesh through Jesus, and he sympathized with our own weakness. I realized that God isn't this distant, powerful figure that looks down and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, my condolences." No, God came down to our level to experience our pain to the point of death on the cross. God takes on humanity's brokenness, sin, and shame to the grave in order that we may have life and have it abundantly. He is the good shepherd that is willing to lay down his life for us, his sheep. His death on the cross is a definitive statement from God to all of us saying, "I know what you are going through and I am suffering with you." The word compassion literally means to suffer with, and this is what God did. He suffers with us and has compassion on us. As I reflected upon the truth of the cross and the hope of heaven, I realized that Christianity is the only worldview that has a satisfying answer to my pain and suffering. Buddhism says that pain isn't real, it's an illusion. Hinduism says it's karma and you have to just do good things, while the atheistic worldview has no answer. It's just what it is. But having gone through personal pain and suffering, these answers are hardly satisfying, providing little hope. Only in Christianity I can make sense of all my life's real experiences of love, longing for eternity, pain, suffering, and death. Additionally, Christianity offers this kind of hope, where the Creator came down to the creation in order to redeem it. It says in Revelation 21:4, "He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away." And he who was seated on the throne said, "Behold, I am making all things new."
Wow. Thank you for sharing your story, Zoe. It actually really helped me to see that because God is loving and compassionate, something so tragic like death doesn't have to be so devastating, but we can actually find comfort and hope in God. Perhaps God could even have reasons to permit suffering if it leads to a greater good.
Right. We do this all the time, like a parent taking their kid to get a flu shot. Every kid would complain about the pain of getting a flu vaccine, but in the end it's for his own good. Pain can be helpful as well. I remember a commencement speech from Chief Justice John J. Roberts, who stated that only by going through loneliness do we not take friends for granted, or only by experiencing pain we may learn compassion. Here's a clip of that speech.
From time to time in the years to come, I hope you will be treated unfairly, so that you will come to know the value of justice. I hope that you will suffer betrayal, because that will teach you the importance of loyalty. Sorry to say, but I hope you will be lonely from time to time, so that you don't take friends for granted. I wish you bad luck again from time to time, so that you will be conscious of the role of chance in life and understand that your success is not completely deserved and that the failure of others is not completely deserved either. And when you lose, as you will from time to time, I hope every now and then your opponent will gloat over your failure. It is a way for you to understand the importance of sportsmanship. I hope you'll be ignored, so you know the importance of listening to others. And I hope you will have just enough pain to learn compassion. Whether I wish these things or not, they're going to happen. And whether you benefit from them or not will depend upon your ability to see the message in your misfortunes.
He's right. When I think back to the moments in my life where I grew the most, it was times of feeling lonely, hurt, or sad. I'm actually really thankful for those times because I got to learn something new about this world, about myself, and also about God. You know, this is the month of Thanksgiving. As I think about how God helped you to process your pain from the loss of your friend, and just how He helped me to grow through various pains in life as well, I'm so thankful that God never left us alone, but is actually with us through all the ups and downs.
Yeah, when we have a heart of gratitude, it really changes our perspective of suffering. That's it for this week's Mentos episode. If you have any thoughts or questions, that's totally understandable. We would love to continue this conversation with you.
Yes, please check out this form below to fill it out. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.